What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you an update to one of my favourite decks for the pure fact of what the theme is based off, and that is Super Quants, or more commonly looking like Power Rangers. That's right, they received a couple of brand new cards in Daughters of Advance that really do help the strategy out. Now the same scenario still works, you just want to get your Great Magnus, as this is going to be your boss monster, your win con, everything you need to. But with the additions of Black Layer and the brand new Evil Alphen in the form of the Zetan, you're going to be able to get more consistency to help you work your way into this. The one thing that is more exciting than anything else is the fact that all of the other layers in here, so you've got white layer, green layer, blue layer, red layer, have a counteracting Zord, but the black layer doesn't have one yet. So that means there could possibly be more future support for this deck, and I can't wait to see it. So, with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. Now join me as I take you through this profile for the Super Quants and show you exactly what we've got. So starting off with the brand new cards, we do play 3 of the Black Layer. Now again, this is a really good addition to the deck because this one kind of acts like a Holly Sue in a sense. And what I mean by that is, when your opponent activates a monster effect, you get a quick effect to discard one other card, and if you do, special on this card from the hand. If this card is specialed, you get to special on one Super Quant Mech Beast XZ monster from the extra deck using this card you control as material. It is treated as an XZ summon. And if you do, you attach one Super Quant monster from your graveyard to it. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you get to add a Super Quant spell from the deck to the hand. Now the benefit of something like this is going to allow you to get into some of your Super Quant monsters. You're basically putting a Ranger into their Megazord. The benefit of being able to send a Super Quant monster from the deck to the grave is that all of the Super Quants have graveyard effects as well. So you'll be able to either recycle free with the blue one, you'll be able to draw a card, or you'll be able to revive another Super Quant monster. So there's loads of different options you can utilize off the back of that, but the fact of the matter is, this just being able to jump into one of the Zords straight away is really kind of cool, because the two you're probably going to want to focus on more times than not will be your Magnus or your Lustrex, because Lustrex is your negator and Magnus is your destructor. The only issue is they only get quick effects if they have the corresponding color layer in them as their operator. So it's a bit of a shame that this can't treat itself as like any kind of color, which is why I'm really hoping we're going to get a Zord for this guy in the future. Then we play 3 of the brand new Fairy Zetan. So you control a Super Quant except itself, and this card is in the hand, you get to special summon it. You can make this card's level the same as one Super Quant monster you control. You contribute this card and send a Super Quant card from the deck to the grave except a Dark Monster to special summon a Super Quant monster from the deck except itself. So again, like, it just adds so much to the deck. The fact that it can manipulate levels, meaning that you can actually hard XZ some of your Super Quant monsters, is really, really useful. The fact it summons itself for technically free, again, is so helpful. And then being able to send a Super Quant, as already mentioned, with all of the old Super Quants having graveyard effects, it just lets you add another layer of disruption or recyclability or extension that you might want to be going for. Speaking of the old Super Quants, we are playing 3 of the blue layer. So this is your ideal starter for the deck. This is your Stratos. It's a Psychic, which is even better because it can be summoned off the back of Emergency Teleport. It's just so good with everything it wants to try and do. So when this card is normal or special, you get to add a Super Quant card from the deck to the hand except itself. If it's sent to the graveyard, you get to target 3 Super Quant cards in the graveyard and put them back into the deck. So it allows you to recycle your capabilities, as well as being able to search out a Super Quant card. So being able to give you access to either Black Layer, Zetan, or of course any of your other coloured layers. Then we do play 3 Super Quantal Fairy Alphen. So this one, again, isn't a bad starter as well. It's still a really, really good one. But this one is a little bit more susceptible to hand traps depending on what else you have access to. So once per turn, you get to target a Super Quant monster you control. All face-on monsters you currently control become that monster's level. You get to tribute this card to reveal 3 Super Quant monsters with different names from the deck. Your opponent randomly picks one for you to special summon, and you send the rest to the graveyard. Only use each effect once per turn. So again, it's direct ways to get to your other Super Quant monsters. It's also another way of being able to kind of set off their graveyard effects. So it does have some really nice utility, and it's not a bad starter. It's just one of them ones that if you get hit with an Ash on something like your blue layer, you still have forms of extended and you still have that monster left on the field. Whereas because you're tributing off the Fairy, if you get hit with an Ash on this one, you're not really going to be able to gain any advantage whatsoever. Then we are on 2 red layer. Now this is one of the kind of, I wouldn't say major differences, but this is kind of like a common difference with this particular lineup is Super Quant red layer used to be the go-to. As we know from the show, it used to be the leader. It's the one that you would always follow. The difference is, this one is if you troll no monsters, you get to special on this card from the hand. So we don't rely on that effect as much. Playing 3 started to get a little bit cloggy. You have the ability to recycle it. You wanted to make space for your other layers like your white layer and of course the brand new black layer, which kind of becomes more effective, which is why you want to be maxing out on it. When it is normal or special, you get to target 1 Super Quant in your graveyard and add it back to the hand. And if it's sent to the graveyard, you get to target Super Quant in your graveyard, except itself and special summon it, but you cannot activate its effects. Now the benefit of something like, but it cannot activate its effects. The benefit of something like this is, again, when you're looking at black layer, if you've already got a couple of different like Super Quants in the graveyard, when you're using black layer to send red layer can then bring back one of the others, and that can help you extend your plays a little bit more. Then for the penultimate Ranger, we are playing 2 Super Quant white layers. So you get to send a non-light Super Quant from the hand or face-up field to the graveyard to special on this card from the hand in defense position. When this card is normal or special, you get to send a Super Quant from the deck to the grave, and if you do, this card's attribute and level become the same as that monster. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you get to add a Super Quant Fairy Alphen from the deck or grave to the hand. So again, you're pretty much covering the basis on this one, as this one's going to allow you to get direct access to your Fairy Alphen. It acts like the black layer of being an extender for you, and being able to get multiple extenders with this particular deck could be very, very useful. As to work your way into the Super Quant or Mech Great Magnus, you need the field spell, and then you need to be able to utilize the ability of getting all of your monsters into Zords, and that's where the field spell will come into play. The final Ranger that we play is the 1 green layer. I still don't mind playing this. It's not the best one because when you normal or special it, you get to special on a Super Quant from the hand, and it's like, well, okay, that's not bad, but it's kind of like extra. Like, if I start off with the green layer, it means I've already got another Super Quant in my hand, and when red can special summon itself if I control no monsters, white can special summon itself by sending, black can summon itself by discarding, and then blue is the only one that can't really do that. It's like, well, I've got to open up blue and green, and then if I start off with green and it gets impermed or veiled, then I'm not really going much further unless I have something like an E-Telly. The benefit of this one though, however, is if it's sent to the grave, you get to discard a Super Quant to draw a card. So again, you can trigger off a Super Quant effect, you then get to draw a card. So it's another way of being able to trigger stuff during your opponent's turn, but also during your turn as well. Now the other engine that I'm playing with this deck, and don't worry before anyone switches off, it's not the Fiendsmith engine. My lord, we don't need to be putting Fiendsmith engine into absolutely everything. And the only reason Fiendsmith engine is being used is to be a Nib protector, which I fully understand because this deck does struggle against Nib. You want to get to your Super Quant Mech Great Magnus, and to do that you need to summon like 6 times before you lead up to it. So the engine that I've kind of worked with, which kind of has double usage for it, because not only can it activate as a monster negator, it can act as a spell and trap negator, and then it can also, in theory, work its way into the blue layer, which is your starter for everything you need to, or another way to get to a Zord, and that is the Terratop engine. So the only issue is that this clashes with red, but now that we're not relying on red as much to be that summon from the hand, the benefit of something like this, and I'll show you the targets that it can work its way into. You can go for the Spell and Trap Negator in Totem Bird if you're worried about a board breaker. You can go for the Monster Negator in Baboozling Gossip Shadow if you're worried about Nibiru, but you can also go into one of your early door starters, being the Super Quant Mech Grand Pulse, because you're going to then be able to hard make this, and when you hard make it, it then means that your discard for your red layer, white layer, or even green layer to then try and make your Mech King Great Magnus is 1 less, which I think is really, really useful. So it does have double usage for this deck, or technically triple usage for this deck, which is why I quite like using it as an idea. Moving on to the spell cards. Now this is actually where we got a brand new spell card as well, which is really cool. So you've got Layer 19, Sudden Incursion Super Quantum Black. So you activate one of these effects, but you can only use each of the effects once per turn. So you get to target one attack position monster on the field and change its defense position. Okay. I'm going to skip over the middle one because that's the most important one. The final one is set a Super Quant trap from the deck. It can be activated this turn. Now, that's quite good if you want to push for an aggressive style, because the Super Quant traps that we have aren't that great, but they basically really just kind of amp up your Magnus. The reason that you're going to want to utilize this card, and the reason this card's so good, is the second effect, is if you control a Super Quant monster, you special on a Super Quant monster from the deck with a different original attribute from that monster into the defense position. So this is your extender that we have been waiting for. Because yes, of course, black layer, extender, great. White layer, extender, great. We needed a spell card that we could search off the back of blue, so that if we do have pretty much limited resource, or our hand isn't that great, we have a way to get to directly like an E-Telly for any of our other Super Quants. Working our way through cards like that can then work us into either of our our fairies. The fairies can then in turn search you out the ability to get to the field spell, and then straight away, because you have the ability to manipulate levels, you can either go into a hard rank XZs, or of course you can work your way up into trying to discard to work your way into different Zords. Now the other benefit is we are only really needing to play one Super Quantum Mech Ship Magna Carrier. Now this is the field spell that allows you to get into your Great Magnus. So you discard one card, then target a Super Quant you control, special summon from the extra deck a Super Quant Mecha Beast XZs with the same attribute as that monster you control by using it as XZ's material. This special summon is treated as an XZs. You get to send this card from the field zone to the graveyard to target 3 Super Quant Mech Beast XZs monsters with different names you control and or in your graveyard. Ideally you want them to be the ones you control because then they'll have their materials attached to them, and that's when Magnus gets to its strongest. You then get to basically merge them all into a Super Mech King Great Magnus for the extra deck, and if you do, you attach the monsters used and their materials to it as XZ's materials. So obviously there is a grind state where you might have like 3 mechs in the graveyard, and you're like, okay, cool, send the field spell because I've top decked it and go into a Magnus. But if you do that, your Magnus is only going to have 3 materials, and it's not going to be as strong as it needs to be, because you really want it to be the strongest Megazord around, and when you only have 3 materials, your Magnus doesn't have that many great effects. You kind of need it to be having 6 or more, which is when you have green layout ranked up into the Megazord, same for the red, same for the blue, and you put all 3 of these together and go into this. And of course you can use white layer as well. I'm just using those as they are the original attributes. And then one of the cards that you probably would have scoffed at back in the day and you're like, why the hell is this card even a thing? We are now playing the 1 Super Quantal Alphen Spike. So you control 3 or more Super Quant monsters with different names, shuffle as many cards your opponent controls as possible into the deck. Sadly, this isn't a quick play. If it was a quick play, that would be really cool. Then your opponent special summons 1 monster from their extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. You can banish this card and 1 Super Quantal Fairy Alphen from your graveyard to then add a Super Quantal Mech Ship Magna Carrier from the deck. This is why this is so good, as it's a Super Quant card you can send from the deck to the grave very easily, and then all you need to do is get access to a Fairy Alphen, which again is very easily done through like Black Layer and through the brand new Zoltan. Banish this, get you direct access to your field spell, which means you don't need to play 3 of this, you just need to play the 1 Garnet rather than 2 additional Garnets. So really, really kind of cool utility now that we can utilize it. It did have me digging through bulk to try and find it, so maybe you might have to do the same, but it should be relatively easy to pick up. Then for the generic support cards, so we've got Call by the Grave, we've got 3 Emergency Teleport, we've got 1 1-for-1 because you've got both your Zoltan and your Alpha. And then for our hand traps of choice right now, we've got 3 Ash Blossom, 2 Drolls, 3 Molchummy, and I like 2 Droplet. Arguably, you probably go to 3 because you can trigger off your send effects, which is really useful. I just wanted to keep it as a 40 card. I feel that Fluoros is like it's like the hand trap of the format right now. If you have Perulia, play Perulia. You can very easily play 3 more Fluoros, 2 Perulia, but they do become dead if you're going first, which is what you're trying to do. You want to make your Magnus, but then if you're going second, you want to make sure you succeed in making your Magnus where at all possible. So you're going to want to try and negate cards and then work it through that way. So that's pretty much it for the entire main deck. Now I'm going to take you through the extra deck. So I've been talking about him more than enough. So we are going to be playing the 1 Mecha King Great Magnus. Now, of course, if you are worried about Cashteras running around, you might want to consider doubling this up. But for now, it can be made with 3 level 12 monsters. You're never going to be making it with 3 level 12 monsters in this deck. If this card is sent to graveyard, you get to special summon 3 Super Quant Mech Beast XZs monsters with different names from the graveyard. This card gains the effect based on the number of XZs materials with different names attached to it. 2 or more, you get a once per turn during either player's during either player's main phase, you get to detach a material from this card, shuffle 1 card on the field into the deck, which is quite nice, it's not bad. 4 or more, it's unaffected by card effects. 6 or more, your opponent could not add cards from their deck to the hand by card effects. Like, this is the biggest pain in the backside to deal with ever. Like, I remember Charlie, and shout out to Charlie who actually played Super Quants at locals since like day 1, I think. It's just so annoying to out Magnus because, like, do you have a Kaiju in your entire deck or side deck? No. Okay, cool. I guess I win this one. So it's so good because it's very rare do you ever really need to detach materials. When you make it with 6, like, being able to basically say your opponent can't add cards is insane, and we already know that this format, which is why Droll is floating around. But it's so difficult to try and bait this card out because it's 3600. It's a 3200 defender, and you're like, right, how do I get rid of this? I can't destroy it, it's unaffected by card effects. And the whole idea with the Great Magnus is you want to try and make sure that it maintains as many materials as possible. So if your opponent puts you in a position, you're like, okay, well, I've stopped you searching for a couple of turns, I'm now going to detach to return a card to the hand. And they're like, right, cool, I can search now. And you're like, yeah, go on then. Search, search, search. But then you still have the fact that this is unaffected. It's just the towers. So the only time you get rid of it is if you can beat it by battle and if you do all 3 Megazords come back. Or you have to then get it below 4 materials, which means you have to use the effect to bounce 3 times if you've made it with all the materials, which is why reviving the 3 materials from the graveyard and then just ranking straight into it isn't the greatest way of doing it. So let's talk about the rest of the Super Quantals. So we've already seen we play the 1 Grand Pulse. So this one can't attack unless it has material. And then once per turn you get to detach material from this card, target a spell or trap on the field and destroy it. It can be activated during either player's turn if it has blue layer as an Xyz material. Once per turn you get to attach a Super Quant monster from the hand or field to this card as material. So again, that's really nice because if you are working your way up and you do go for the discard, as long as you have more Super Quants in the graveyard to recycle, you can start adding them back to this card and then your Magnus becomes even stronger. We then have the 1 Super Quant Mech Beat Ouroboros. So generic rank 4, can't attack unless it has Xyz. You get to detach material from this card, target a face-on monster on the field, change it to face-down defense position. It can be activated as a quick effect if it has Super Quant Green Layer as an Xyz material. And once per turn, you can attach a Super Quant monster from the hand or field to this card as material. So again, you're just being able to get a bit more resource into this, which is why having more Super Quant monsters is really, really important. Then we are on 2 of the Super Quant Beast Magna. Ligar. So this one is generic rank 5. Can't attack unless it has Xyz, pretty standard. Detach 1 Xyz from this card, then target a monster on the field and destroy it. It becomes a quick effect if it has red layer, and then once per turn you get to attach a Super Quant monster from the hand or field to this card as Xyz material. Then we have 2 of the Luster Rex. Luster Rex can't attack unless it has material, and they get to detach a material from this card, target an effect monster on the field, negate that face-on monster's effect until the end of the turn. Quick effect if it has white layer. And then once per turn you get to attach 1 Super Quant monster from the hand or field to this as material. So you can see how they're all completely, like, exactly what they need. Now there is unfortunately no black layer right now, but the other Super Quant card that you can play, which was the Zord that was made with the white layer in occlusion, is the Neo Super Quantal Mech King Blaster Magna. Now, the reason people don't play this and you don't really rely on it that heavily is for the pure fact that you're probably going to be making Magnus directly. But this card was one of them ones that in the format, when we went into the new Link format, which kind of made this deck really, really tough to play and really tricky. And I'm so glad that they've reversed it for this. Not just for this in general, but in, like, overall. So it requires 2 effect monsters, including the Super Quant monster. The Link summon cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and each time a Super Quant Xyz monster with a different name from the card you control is special summoned from the extra deck to a zone this card points to, you draw 1 card. If a face-up Xyz monster this card points to is destroyed by battle or by an opponent's card effect, you get to special summon a Super Quant monster from the deck with the same attribute as one of those destroyed Xyz. You can only use each effect once per turn, so it's one of the ones where you could basically just call, you got a little bit greedy in a sense, which way you don't need to rely on it. But you would make this with 3 monsters, so like that's where your Terratop comes into play and then like any other monster. And then the idea is you'd go, okay cool, special, discard, turn it into an Xyz, draw a card. Do the exact same, draw a card, do the exact same, draw a card, make Magnus draw a card. So you've like drawn 4 cards. And the reason for that one is you're basically just recurring all of the cards you would discard in order to rank all of these monsters up into their Zords. Going back to the Xyz, obviously already mentioned the number 75 Bamboozling, Gothic Shadow and Totem Bird. And then you're going to be backed up with what pretty much fits the theme, which I think is really nicely, being the 1 AA Zeus Sky Thunder and the 1 Sky Crisis Typhon. And then just generic links in the form of IP and SP. And then the link that is probably more specific for this particular type of deck is the Infinitrack Fortress Megaclops. So this requires 3 Xyz materials as material. It's unaffected by other monster effects except those of Xyz. It can't be destroyed by battle except with an Xyz. You get to target 1 Xyz monster in your graveyard and 1 card your opponent controls. Special summon that monster from the graveyard, and if you do, you attach that opponent's monster to it as material. Also for the rest of the turn, any damage your opponent takes is halves. So it's just like a 4K link free monster that then lets you basically revive your Xyz and then steal your opponent's monsters as material. So it's a really kind of cool option. It's one of them ones that you can make it in an odd scenario, and it's kind of one of the ones that you probably rather have and not need than need and not have. So that is pretty much it for the entire deck. I hope this has given you a bit of an insight and an update of this deck. I really do like the idea behind this. I loved Power Rangers growing up and being able to actually have a deck for this as well. And then the fact that it just got new support out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting it. I was like, cool, White Layer was a nice addition. It's not the best addition, but it is a nice addition. And then they're like, hey, you want some more? And I'm like, yes, please. So yeah, I'm really hoping we get a Black Zord. That would be so, so cool. Just to kind of add to it. And then the hopes are that if we get that, they're either going to go down, this is like the evil side of the Power Rangers, which would be really cool, because it means we'll probably get some more and then more Zords, or they'll be like, right, okay, cool, we're going to make a Zord that you can merge as well. So you'll get the individual Black Super Quantal Mech Beast, but then on top of that, you'll get a new Magnus that hopefully adds the Super Quantum Mech Beast to it as well, and you're like, yes! So, so cool. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. You can tell that I really do enjoy this deck. If you do have any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I'm more than happy to answer them. But for now, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.